So yeah, today we're speaking with Orville Cummings. Unlike other people I've spoken to, this isn't a complete stranger I found on social media. Orville and I actually went to the same film school. We went to TFS. You graduated in 2015, right?
That's correct, for the acting program.
Yep, same time as me, and I was in the film production program. But Orville, tell me about a bit more about yourself. What got you into acting? How did it all start? What was that journey?
It was something I knew I wanted to do. I just wasn't aware of it. So in Jamaica, I grew up as an only child. As an only child, you got to make friends with nothing. You know what I'm saying? I had like my neighborhood friends and everything, but play with toys. But that like continued into my early teens. I was just always like making up characters in my head. Like I've never thought I could be an actor where I was, but once I moved up here and I started seeing more people who are pursuing it, because I didn't have anyone around me back then pursuing it. Then I met some friends in high school. I wanted to be a director at first because I like to be behind the camera. I like to create the stories and tell them. I never saw myself too much in front of the camera. I took this film class in 2010 in grade 10, but I didn't read it properly. Like I was in a rush. I was like last minute taking my courses. When I got into the class, I'm like, yo, where are the cameras? It was acting for TV and film. And I was like, huh? And I was mad nervous. And my teacher, I wasn't the only one that made that mistake. A couple other kids made that mistake. My teacher's like, hey, I'm giving you guys a week. I implore you to stay in the class. And if you don't like it, you can drop it and take the actual, film program. And I stuck with it because I always like performing, but I'm just like, okay, let's just see where this goes. And I loved it, and my teacher said that, yo, you need to do this. So shout out to Kim Thomas if you ever see this, because she really put that in my mind that this could be a possibility of what can I do with my life. I never looked back really, and I continued all throughout high school. In drama class, I did a play for my school. I was one of the leads in the play, and went to TFS, as you know, where I met you, James. And I did a bunch of short films there. And after school, I did the thing, took the acting classes around the city, went and saw an agent. In my mind, I was so naive going into the acting industry. So if any actors are watching this right now, I don't want to scare you. It's a beautiful industry. It does have its ups and downs like any other industry in the world. So it was very challenging at first to find an agent that would take me on. I didn't have anything to show that I knew what I was doing. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I was too ignorant to admit that. And it wasn't until I started taking certain acting classes. Let me give them a shout out right now. Shout out to Raw, Sophie Ann Rooney, and shout out to MAW, Anthony Mendel's Actors Workshop. They really helped me find myself as an artist. And ever since then, everything the ball started rolling. I got an agent, I've been booking a couple roles there. I became union. It's been a beautiful journey actually, learning about myself and what the industry is, both on the business end and the artistic end. I'm farther than I thought I would be once I had that awareness, oh my God, this is what it takes. But once I let that fear go and I really start to understand how to navigate through the industry, it's been a blessing.
What was your expectation as to what the industry was before you kind of actually went into it? And then how has that changed when you actually started to get into the more movies and productions and stuff?
I thought it was going to be a breeze. I thought that my first audition, I was going to book it and I was just going to do. So I thought I had this ego going into it. I thought I was going to be an anomaly and I would excel so fast than anyone has ever seen. And it was just a little bit of ego because I was like, I'm talented. I know what I'm doing. I'm good looking enough or whatever. But once I got into the industry, I realized there's just a lot more layers to it. As much as it is an art form to be an actor, you're also going into a business and you need to understand and navigate that. And what I really understood through auditioning is that you can be, even if you're the best person in the audition, you could be the best actor or whatever, they could still not book you, you know what I'm saying? And that's not just because you're trash or whatever, it's just you're just not what they were looking for. So understanding rejection became a big part of navigating through the industry. I feel just being aware of other things that I wasn't aware of, the rejection and the audition process, the agent process, the contracts, the NDAs and all that stuff. If my goal or my perception of being this anomaly would have happened when it did, I don't think I would have been ready for all the stuff that came with it. I had to start from the bottom. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to start at the midway to the top, and I'm just nah. And if that was the case, it would have been detrimental to me. And I'm glad and I'm grateful how my journey has unfolded. So I thought I would be way farther, but I'm actually really content and happy where I'm at right now and where I'm going. And I'm just I'm loving the pacing right now. So I'm just enjoying the ride.
Now, you said something interesting. You said that you had to understand the business side of it. which is 100% true. Like, even as like when I'm trying to go into the filmmaking stuff like that, I was literally in the exact same sort of mindset as you in a way. Like, I'll admit I had an ego in film school. I thought I was going to make stuff that was really good. And I remember when I graduated, I worked on a short film and I pitched this message like, oh, I want to raise $50,000 for this short film. Even looking back and I'm like, Jamie, what were you thinking? 50,000 for a short film, and you just graduated film school. Like, long story short, that ended up never happening. We never raised any 50,000, and it put me in a position where I really had to understand that, like, forget being handed the money. Like, I could have won the lottery, someone could have invested my money, but I never knew how to properly spend that money, how to take responsibility for that money, how to be super careful that you can't just go and just blow off the budget. You have to be extremely cautious about, because you could spend it all at once and then lose it in the back end and stuff. So many different things. When you talk about understanding the business side of it, so what sort of business skills or aspects as an actor that you had to understand?
One of the biggest ones I think I had to understand, and this goes back to my point about the auditioning, how not being chosen for the role doesn't mean that you're a bad actor or anything. And I really want to drive that home to people, because I feel like a lot of people get discouraged when they audition so much and there's a lot of no's, because really you only need that one yes. Those no's, don't even worry about them. That's just, the no's are bringing you closer to that one yes that you really need. And the thing was that understanding the star system in terms of the business. If you're a great actor and you're good for the role, they're trying to sell this. At the end of the day, they're trying to make money off this show. So if you're not the face that's going to bring seats into the theater or whatever, they're going to look at somebody else. Like, if I audition and Will Smith's audition for the same role, I could blow it out of the water. I'm not saying I'm a better actor than Will Smith. I'm going to say, let's just say that happened. They'll probably choose Will Smith because he has more star power. He has more recognition. So that's one thing that I had to come to terms with, that once you reach a certain place, you have more leverage. So understanding leverage in the industry, in the business side, is really important, because it is a social business, and it's not necessarily about who you know, it's about who knows you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like doing your auditions and just doing the best you can, and know that people are still watching you. You might, even if you audition for one casting director, it could be multiple other people watching you, like different producers or whatever. Even if they didn't know you before and now they see your thing and they didn't use you, they still have you at the back of their mind. They're waiting for you to get to that point where they're just like, I don't want to say exploit you or use you for money, but again, it is business. You know what I'm saying? You want a product that's really going to give you a good ROI, a return on your investment. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be valuable yourself, and it's about building value. You know what I'm saying? Making sure you're going to have to take some shots, do some free work, doing like student films or whatever. Don't let your pride or ego stop you from doing that, because it's a long-term business. So doing those things now and taking those hits in terms of finance or whatever, it builds your resume, it builds your credibility, it builds your leverage, and it builds your network of people, because those people are also rising with you. You know what I'm saying? Never look at this as a hierarchy where everyone is here. You're not above everyone, and people aren't necessarily above you. They might have bigger productions than you, but we're all people at the end of the day. So if you work on a student film and this person hasn't graduated yet, that person in the next 10 years could be the next Tim Burton, and they want to use you because they really work well with you, or vice versa, where you feel like you're down here, you have nothing to show, and then you do an audition and Quentin Tarantino sees you in that audition and says, you're not right for this role, you're not the star power. But later on, he starts thinking, you know what, I really like that guy. You know what, let me do a little short film or something, and now you're affiliated with Quentin Tarantino, So it's just understanding, building value, and using your leverage with your network of people that you know.
Have you tried using social media or stuff like that to also help build your audience and your leverage?
In 2020, I did 2 short films because of social media, and it's because I'm just like, you know what, I'm not doing anything, blah, blah. I'm gonna just turn on the camera, learn these monologues, put it out there. And then this guy hit me up and he's like, yo, I think you're perfect for my short film that I want to enter into this competition. I saw your work and I love what you could do. So people do, as I said, people are watching, even if you don't hear anything for a while, people are watching and they're taking note of you. So keeping your value rising and not being discouraged, being very pessimistic about the industry is not going to help you at all. You're only hurting yourself. Social media is a great way to connect with people. I know people have messed up perception on social media, but social media to me is neutral. It's how you use it and how you perceive it. And I use it to promote my projects and promote my friends' projects, because that's also a really really important thing that I think we need to do a lot more often is promoting each other, because you have no idea how much that helps in terms of leveraging. As much as some people don't like to talk about the numbers of like followers or whatever, it's not important or whatever. At the end of the day, it does kind of like help in certain ways. If I have 1 million followers and I'm a famous movie star and my friend started acting and whatever, and he does this like cool project and I want to share it, me sharing that then creates a pool of 1 million people to potentially see his work and puts him on a bigger platform, and that gives him more leverage. You know what I'm saying? So sharing others' work and sharing your own work, and we create this like this thing, and like it's a beautiful thing, man, when you use social media.
Do you ever try and get into content creation when you're working your social media leverage?
Yes and no. I feel like me as a person, because my social media isn't just catered to me as an actor, it's catered to me as an artist. And what that means is it's like you'll see one photo of like a still from me on Star Trek, oh my god, he's an actor, and then you'll see a photo of me just in the dark, half shadow on my face. It's like, wait, that has no, is this a film? No, it's just like how I express myself. So it's not fully catered to my career. So I wouldn't say I do my content for just to better my career. It's just a form of expression. It's just an album book of my journey, you know. And if you want to come by, like, you want to follow me because you think I'm a cool guy, do it. But I'm not like really pushing anything, really. I'm just like letting the work speak for itself when it needs to, and then just like enjoying myself at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, one of the things that you're doing that I really like, and I think a lot of different artists, and I'm not just talking about actors, it could be anything, filmmakers, photographers, musicians, they tend to forget that they're artists. So you have a lot of the actors that all they want to do is they want to tell you what you should believe, and they try and do all this message. And like, if you want to speak whatever you believe in, like, that's one thing. But I think at the end of the day, your responsibility is you're an artist. You need to create art. Like, I always have much more of appreciation for people like Will Smith, where he's constantly creating photos and video work on his platform for just the sake of entertaining everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. It speaks for him as a person.
Yeah, I really respect Will Smith. He's one, like, let this be known that he's one of my favorite actors, and he's actually one of the reasons I got into acting, aside from like going to school, like growing up watching him. I'm actually currently reading his book right now, and it is phenomenal. If anyone's watching this and you guys haven't read that Will Smith book, go pick it up. It is a ride.
So let's talk about your experience on Discovery. On Star Trek Discovery. So how did you get that role? First
of all, it's wild. Like my just thinking of like what I can share is just like, I'm just like, I think I got it in 2020. Yeah, I got it in 2020, like around November in 2020, and it was when I was shifting agencies, which was a weird time to shift agencies, because I wanted to leave my agent for a while, not because they were bad agency. I just felt like I was outgrowing them. Like, I felt like the work I've been putting in, like learning from these acting classes and putting into these other films that I've been doing, have been exceeding. And I'm just like, I want to be seen for getting the opportunity to be seen for bigger things, you know what I'm saying? So I can potentially move my career forward. And I felt like they weren't doing that for me. So when I started handing out like my demo reel, got a new headshot, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna send it out to these agencies. I know it's COVID, the film industry's not doing too well right now or whatever. Got with my new agency, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then within the first 2 months of being with them, I got the audition. I didn't know it was for Discovery at all, because they always use code names. They used the code name. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And I'm just like, oh, cool, it's a sci-fi. Well, this is pretty dope. And then one of my friends actually knew the code name, and then he dropped it to me. And ever since he did, I'm just like, oh, this is for, oh. And funny, the role I have right now is not the role I initially auditioned for. I was on hold for a different role, and it was to be an alien. And they were gonna put me in this like big warthog suit with everything. And my friend actually booked that role. Shout out to Adrian he did a great job as that role. That was for him, 100%. Then I got a second audition to be a lieutenant. And I'm just like, oh, this is dope. I got a second, while I'm on hold for this, they want to see me for something else. Oh my God, this is great. So I did that audition. I did some research, because I watched Star Trek as a kid, but when I say kid, I mean like I was a little kid, and I didn't really understand what was going on, but I understood the basics. They're in space, they had colors, they mean different things. So I took that basic knowledge and I applied it to my audition. I'm just like, okay, what do they wear? Where are they at? How do they operate? It's the funniest thing, because coincidentally, they were just changing the costumes from season 1, 2, and 3 into like this like mustard yellow. And I had bought this mustard yellow shirt for my headshot, and I put it on one day, and I'm like, damn, because I always wear black and gray, right? That's like my swag. And then I put this shirt on, I'm just like, yo, I actually look good in this. And then I did research. I'm like, oh, so they do wear yellow on the old Star Trek. Okay, let me put this on then. And I did it. And I booked the role, and while they're doing the fitting, and then it was like, this is what the color is going to be. This is the exact color I wore for my audition. So it was just like synchronicity. So it was a very surreal moment once I booked it. I was on hold for so long. I was just like, for a week, and I was just like, but at that point in my career, I wasn't too stressing about booking roles. As I said, I got to the awareness that if it wasn't for me, it's not for me. They want someone else because of blah, 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 blah. All I can do right now is do the best job I can and put it on the table. And if they want to pick it up, they'll pick it up. And they did. And I'm truly grateful for it. And it was a mind-blowing experience, man. The first day on the bridge, I was like, yo, like, I thought it was just gonna be a bunch of like bricks and stuff, and then they just CGI everything. And there's a lot of CGI, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the stuff, I'm just like, yo, that's an actual monitor with information and stuff. This button actually turns something on. I'm like, yo, this is wild. So I felt like a kid. I was just like, oh, that's like the feeling that, you know, keeps us in this industry. Is like, we feel like a kid, but it's on such a grander scale. Instead of using cardboard boxes in our backyard, pretending to be on a spaceship, you know, now we have this space that we have built as adults. Set designers build it, and we as adults now get to play in the space. And it was a really fun, man. It was really fun. The explosions, though, those were real. That was not CGI. There were actual explosions. Oh my God. Like, you have the makeup artist going around saying, hey, do you want earplugs? We're doing the explosive scenes. And I'm just like, nah. I'm like, you guys are gonna CGI most of you. You're just gonna have a couple sparks and whatever. Oh my God, those were real, like, fire, like, I don't know what they call it, fire spitters or whatever, a dragon spit or whatever. And they were actually like, it was loud, it was hot, and it was amazing because it really kept you in the scene. It really kept it real, and it was like the most fun I've ever had on a set to this day, 100%.
So as you were doing your research for the part, and even right now as you're filming, do you find yourself going back and rewatching any of the Star Trek Discovery or any of the previous Star Trek shows?
Yeah, when I got the audition, and it was like a couple days before it was due. I think I had like 5 days to work on it before I had to do it. I'm just like, let me just watch a couple episodes just to get the tone and everything right. So I started watching season 1, and I think it was 3 episodes in. I was just like, I'm a fan. I like it. It felt like a Marvel TV show before Marvel started making TV shows, and they're like the big ones like WandaVision and all that other stuff. And I was like, yo, this is cool. And it got me even more hyped to do the audition to be on this. And I'm just like, yo, this is so sick. So that, as far as the research goes, I looked at some of the old stuff, but I ended up watching the full season of season 1, and I loved it. And yeah, and getting the wording down, because sci-fi is a different beast when it comes to acting, you know what I'm saying? Because you have to be very particular. And we do have like an on-set script supervisor, and they'll call you out. They're like, yo, you can't say that word wrong. And certain words that you read and you think, this is how you say it. It's like, no, you're in Star Trek and this is an alien race and they don't say it like that. You have to say it like them. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So yeah, it is a very particular way of like saying stuff. The balance comes in, how do you do that without sounding like too much like a robot? Because the words are very robotic, but how do you make it human, or how do you make it grounded? Let's not use the term human because it's filled with a bunch of different like stuff, but how do you make it grounded and true to the story? Because yes, the fans, they are precise. They know so much more than I think sometimes they know more than some of the the writers have to be so careful, because like you make one error or you make one thing that creates a plot hole of this Star Trek that was shot 20 years ago, because everything is linked. Really, they're just like nah. Because on my Google homepage, like I got my newsfeed and whatever, and because I don't know, it shows me a lot of like Star Trek Discovery stuff, and the fans are just like, oh, this episode of Star Trek Discovery is referring to this thing on The Next Generation back then. Oh my God, they brought it back. And I'm not a hardcore fan like that. I'm like, I didn't know it was that big of a deal, bro, but apparently it's a big deal. This little scene is a big deal to the whole Star Trek universe. I'm like, whoa, didn't know that. So it is interesting. I do like that it has a deep lore, though. I do like that it has a deep lore. So it makes you feel like you're doing something on a grander scheme than just saying lines, like you're speaking throughout the entire generation of Star Trek. The approach I took, well, first it was observation, not just observation of me watching a couple episodes of the show, but watching the lead of the show, Sonequa, and she is a beast. All right, she is a complete beast. So watching how she manages it and keeps it real, because first of all, she has to carry the entire energy of the ship. Like, she is not just the captain of the show, she's the leader of the crew. Watching her really helped me understand, like, how do you keep this like science mumbo jumbo grounded. So the approach I took was watching her and saying it over and over, and then asking questions. I feel like a lot of actors, when they go on set, they try to like create this like persona that they know what they're doing, and they don't want to seem like they don't know what they're doing, even though they don't. And I'm just like, it's okay to ask questions, you know what I'm saying? So before we film or whatever, I'll go up to the director, I'll be like, hey, what's up, Olatunde? What does this mean? And these aliens, even if my line has nothing to do with these aliens, I still want to know, because it's like I'm still in this world, so I need to know how I feel about it, you know what I'm saying? So feelings have to come into consideration, because as I said, you don't want to sound too robotic, and it's so easy when you're spitting science mumbo jumbo. So asking questions to the director, asking questions to the script supervisor of how things should be said and what context they're in really helps a lot. But at the same time, it's not always technical. Again, they're all living things, and we have mundane way of saying things, and that comes into play. So it's a fine balance. We're not robots. So it was just observation and asking questions.
Have you ever been in a position, especially on the show, where like you're basically staring at a green screen and it's like, okay, there's this spaceship happening, or like you're talking to this one character who's basically in the black and white pajamas, and it's like, this is this alien and all this kind of stuff, and you just had to pretend what they are?
Yeah, that happens a lot actually, because there is a green screen for the front view of the ship. You're just like, oh my God, okay, this planet is exploding now. We have to like picture the eye line of where it's exploding, and there's a crane coming in to get your reaction. And you're just like trying not to go cross-eyed, looking at, try not to look at the crane, but try to imagine this big planet exploding. Like when you're trying to do the effect of like beaming in. So 1 minute you could be talking and then someone's beaming in. And the trick is like, when you're talking, you have to like pause. Everything has to pause. And then someone walks in, the beam happens, they yell action again, and then you have to continue with the same energy. So it's like controlling your energy is a big part of it, because there's a lot of stop, go, pause, wait, imagine, lighting cues. This means the planet exploded, look at it, look at the debris. So and it takes a lot of teamwork too, because the person beside you who's on the ship too, they have to have the same kind of eye line. So it's just like everyone has to be on the same page as to what's going on and at to what scale is happening. Is the planet blowing up all the way down there or right in our faces? You know what I'm saying? Everyone has to be on the same page as that. So it was fun. Again, it's another thing where you get an opportunity to use your imagination.
What was the general atmosphere like for you as like a working person? Like, do you find that when you're on a set that big and there's tons of stuff going on, there's tons of money being spent, do you find that the atmosphere is still light? Are there people stressing out? Does it get really harsh at times? Is it kind of loose at times? What's that experience like? Specifically
to the show, because every set is kind of different.
Of course.
I will say this set, it was a very intimidating set because it is the biggest set I've ever been on. And these American productions, they spend a lot of money, so there's a lot of people on crew. And it was during too. So the only thing that was like a little bit different and uneasy was the protocols and wearing the mask and taking them off between scenes, and you're in them all day with your makeup. So that was the only thing that made like being on this set a little bit like, oh. But like once that mask comes off and like the makeup people clear, and then it's just the crew and the actors, it's fun, man. And every morning without fail we have a crew meeting, and it's not like a serious meeting or anything. It's just like, okay guys, remember blah 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 blah, you know, keep your mask on between blah 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 blah. But then they do crew appreciation where they give people shout outs, we clap, songs will come on, we'll have a little dance party just to get the energy up and light, because those set days are long. They're like 12-hour set days, but like everyone there is happy to be there. Every single person is happy to be there, no matter how many hours they've been working. The cameramen are all fun to talk to. The actors are great to talk to. The directors are super supportive. So at no point did I felt like I wasn't in good hands or I felt uneasy about being on this set. It was a really fun set. It was really like light. Again, like there's a lot of fear actors have about like not just asking questions, but like just being free to explore and talk to other people outside. And obviously there's boundaries, you know what I'm saying? Like keep it to a minimum, because we still have to work. You know what I'm saying? Don't start telling people your life story. But if you have a question, ask it. If it's a legitimate question about the work, ask the question. There's time to like have downtime, like leisurely talk and whatever. Personally, what I like to do between breaks is just walk around and take in the space. And at one point I thought I was going to get in trouble. I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, and I'm walking, and then one of the directors like, Orville, I'm like, oh, here we go, I'm in trouble. But he's just like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm just walking around. It's like, oh, cool. It's like, all right, cool. If you ever have more time, walk around, come sit down, and I'll show you what's good. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, oh, dope. So the people there are mad supportive and mad cool, and I have nothing negative to say except for the fact that the protocols made it a little bit more distant, because we have to be like a certain distance from each other. And I felt like without, if I was on the show before, I felt like everyone was just be huddling up, hugging each other. That's how close I feel like the Star Trek family is. So I'm really grateful to be a part of that.
I find that really fascinating, because when I graduated film school, like I had this stigma about the industry. I mean, this is obviously more based on my experience, because I've been on a couple rough sets, and my understanding was like the whole place was harsh, and you were expected to suck it up, and yeah, it's harsh, but this is the industry, and if you don't work hard and kiss up to everyone, then you're not going to go far. I'm hearing more stories that, I mean, the higher you go, yes, there's so much stress. It's a lot of people, or you're working with big, massive franchises, big fans, a lot of money, and foreign people and stuff. It gets to actually be a lot more humble. You know, like, as you said, like everyone's a lot more chill and just like, you know what, yeah, we're in a 12-hour day, but like, you know what, let's have a good energy and let's have good vibes, because otherwise it's just gonna suck.
It's gonna suck, 100%.
So when you were finally told that you were going to be in the show, was there sort of a preparation how you were going to deal with the media and the fans afterwards? Like, if you were going to be on an interview much like this, did someone warn you? It's like, hey, make sure you say this, don't say this, here's how to approach?
No, there wasn't really any like prep for the media, mainly because I felt like my character during season 4, because the NDA I signed, like, it's okay now for me to talk about the character, but before we couldn't talk about the character because they didn't want to like show that I'm a new character, mainly because the situation I was in, where an actor on the show was leaving the show because he was starring in something else, and he just couldn't work on both shows at the same time. So that allowed, because first of all, when I booked the show, I was only pinned for 4 episodes. Like, it was 4 episodes, thank you, goodbye. But then that actor was gonna leave, and they're just like, hey, are you available to do more episodes, blah, blah, blah. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing to a bigger reoccurring role. They didn't want to like fully like talk about it. So like when in terms of like press release and all that stuff, they kind of kept like all the new characters hush hush and focused on the main characters that everyone were more focused on. So going forward, if they want me back for season 5, then they would probably have that conversation with me, because now I'm known, you know, in the show. Because in season 4 I'm new. No one knows who I am. They're like, who's this guy, and why is he saying lines? Who's that guy? You know. But then if I come back, again, I don't know. We haven't talked about that yet. And then even if we did, I can't talk about it. They would then like draft a different contract and then say something about, say, hey, you know, we're gonna have to tighten you up a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But for now, I'm okay to be a little bit loose. I'm not like dishing out spoilers or anything. Like, even if without an NDA signed about it, I wouldn't do that, just for the respect of the fans, because I know how hardcore they are. So I wouldn't do that to anyone. Like, I like to pick, when I put up clips of my scenes or like a little snippet of my scenes, I make sure this is like an episode that aired 2 weeks ago. So it's like backlog. Like, I'm just like, I'm playing catch up with the show. It's not recent. I'm not putting like episode 2 comes out today and then tomorrow I put out a clip from episode 2. No. If episode 4 comes out today, I'm putting a clip from episode 1. That way, just to clear that this is not a spoiler. If it's on episode 4 and you haven't seen it yet, you know, it did what it is. And again, I still try to take an extra caution as to not pick a scene that exposes like very important information. Just like little things, you know, maybe the ship's like going through a thing and you're just like, what's happening? Just to bring curiosity and like interest to go see the show and not tell you what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a big mystery going on, and like I've had friends at parties come up to me and be like, hey man, I've been watching the show, man, what can you tell me about this alien, man? What does this mean, bro? And I'm just like, can't tell you anything. I can't tell you. You know? Just out of respect. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, come on, man, I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm like, no, I can't tell you. Like, no, I don't know if they're listening. I don't know if they tap my phone, but I signed the NDA. I'm not going to tell you. It's a huge spoiler. So I do have people like come up to me and wanting to like get ahead of the show by knowing what's going on. I'm like, no. And it's not cool. Aside from the business side, just on a personal level, that's not cool, man. You're ruining the surprise, the mystery, the reveal, the satisfaction of like wanting to know and then finally figuring it out once you see it. Like, you know, you're doing much more than just like promoting the show. You're causing the marketing team to be at a disadvantage. Now they have to, as you said, rush to like explain, and then you're making fans angry. It's just, don't do it. Don't post spoilers. Don't do it, please. That's why it's so great to be an artist in this, you know what I'm saying? When the world's falling apart, they're going to turn to us because we keep everyone sane, you know what I'm saying? And we keep everyone feeling that they're important, they're not alone, because we can create art that can touch people and relate to them. And we can also create art for people to forget about their problem.
You finished filming back in September, and I know that this shouldn't be something that actors really look forward to when they go into different shows and movies, but I'm just curious, when you finished, were you allowed to take away some sort of souvenir, anything, even in regards to marketing?
They gave me
that's dope.
It's a little cup, a little teacup. It's kind of backwards on the screen because of the mirroring, but like one of the leads, David Ajala, he actually like, I think he just does this every time at the end of the season. He just gives out some stuff. You know, I got a onesie and everything, because they do want you to feel like you're a part of a family. You know, no one really goes home empty-handed on a Star Trek set, or at least on this set. So yeah, you do get a little stuff aside from the memories.
So listen, we already covered so much, and this was already a fantastic conversation. Just to wrap it up, I always ask everyone, if there was like one big tip or advice you would like to give to any aspiring actors that really want to get into the industry and really start out, that perhaps we didn't touch on, what would something like that be?
Take yourself seriously as an actor. You know, a lot of people do this and they're just like, yeah, do this and you know, blah blah, do these auditions here and there, but don't brush off what you do for a living. You know, what you do is really important to the world as an actor. So the best thing you could do is really take yourself seriously and just be authentic, because art imitates life all the time. If you're not good in your real life, it's going to translate on screen. You know what I'm saying? And I tell people to take acting classes all the time, because it can teach you so much more about yourself and the art at the same time. But like being a great actor or being an actor in the industry really comes down to how authentic you are as a human being, because it's all about empathy and connecting with these characters and understanding. You know what I'm saying? So really take care of yourself as a person first, you know what I'm saying? And when I say take yourself seriously, it's just like when you get that rejection, don't let it dampen your spirits, you know what I'm saying? It will from time to time, especially when you get a big project and you're just like, oh, well, I really want this, and you didn't get it. Like, it's completely fine, you know? It's just like life. There's so many no's. You see a girl across the street, she looks beautiful, you want to go, you know, talk to her, and she rejects you. Doesn't mean there's just not a beautiful woman later on in your future that's going to be with you. Or it's just understanding. Just develop a firm understanding of yourself, and it will translate into the industry. So I would say work from the core first before you get to the business side, because the business side is a whole different beast. If you're good and undeniable as an artist and as a person, people will look at that, they will take it in consideration, and you will reap the benefits in the future. It's a long-term game, not a short-term game. I know social media and the way the world is setting us up for short-term gratification or instant gratification or whatever, but really it's a long-term game. If you're not in it for the long run, you're not going to be in it for the long run. You're going to be gone within the next 5 years. If you can survive the first 5 years of your industry, if your time as an actor, you're going to do great. Because I heard a long time ago, 5 years is usually how long people take in this industry before they leave, because they're like, it's not working out. I'm just like, you've only been in it for 5 years. I thought you wanted to do this for the rest of your life. Your life isn't just 5 years. So I would say take yourself seriously, be authentic, and take care of yourself first. Art imitates life always.
100%. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Orville from the set of Star Trek Discovery, dropping massive advice bombs on acting and dating in real life. But listen, honestly, thank you so much for your time, Orville. This has just been amazing experience. Of course, hearing it firsthand, straight from the set of Star Trek Discovery and your various different projects. Do you have anything going on right now that you want to talk about?
I don't necessarily have anything going on right now. I have a project circulating right now. It's gaining a lot of traction. It's a project called Patty versus Patty, and it's a historical documentary. It's only 20 minutes long. It's on CBC Gem. You can also check it out on YouTube if you're not in Canada. And it's been getting a lot of traction. I think it's almost 700,000 views in the past 3 weeks it's been out. CBC is really trying to push it, and it's a brief documentary about the history of the Jamaican patty in Toronto, of how they tried to sue these patty vendors for calling it the patty, because a patty is a burger meat, is what they were trying to claim, and they wanted it to call the Caribbean meat pocket. Offered the role to play Michael Davison, the man who went into Congress and fought for the name of the patty, and because of him is why we call it a patty to this day and not a Caribbean meat pocket. So it's a very historic, great documentary. It's about my culture. So if anyone's out there is interested in Jamaican culture or just want a quick little comedic documentary, go check Patty versus Patty out on YouTube or CBC Gem.
Fantastic. Well, I'll definitely link that in the video. Again, thanks so much for your time, Orville. This has been great.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And of course, good luck to all the actors out there.